This is just a couple of things I found along the way as I've been building and rebuilding my shack. So it's as I've been rebuilding it, and now I have a dedicated space for it. My overarching goal is that I want to be able to run the everything remotely, simply with a computer connection. So there's lots of different ways you can approach doing a remote station, and the one I settled on was the complete capability for everything that I use, simply with a local computer connection. So to do that, then all the equipment needs to come under local computer control. So when I'm in the shack, I seldom touch any of my equipment. It's all run via the screen of the computer. And then the remote connection is simply between the remote computer and the shack computer. And that's been the design here. And one of the other things I wanted was USB connections whenever possible, because they're getting RS-232 connections connected to USB ports and what have you can be really tricky. One of the first was the EA4TX remote box, which is the control box for my antenna switch. I took a little different tack than Mel did with my antenna switch, such that the switch itself is out on the tower. So I only have one coax running from the shack to the base of the tower. And then the switch is there, antennas are connected, goes up the tower from there. The EA4TX box is here in my shack, very compact, and I have a 1x8 switch. So this is a 1x8 controller for it, and it fits right in there. Although I never use, again, I don't use the control box itself because I've got the software running up on the screen, and I'll show you that in just a minute here. The things why I picked this one, it works with almost any antenna switch. I happen to be using the DX Engineering 1x8 switch, but it's a real universal controller. It is a true USB connection to the computer, and their software is very, very good. It's simple to use, simple to program, but it's very robust in what it can do. They're comparatively inexpensive. When I bought mine, it was like $164, and now they're $189, $185 for the 1x8 model. And they come in different configurations, 1x8, 2x8, etc., up to a 2x12. And then they even have a 1x4 that's designed to support a 4-square vertical receive antenna. It has an input for the band data from the transceiver, automatically choose the antenna based on the transceiver output. So you don't have to, it will follow the band that the transceiver's on, and based on what you programmed into the software, it will select an antenna automatically if you want to use it that way. And this is what the software looks like on one of my computer screens. You can resize that window, make it as big as you want it. As you can see, it's really pretty small right here. This is a portion of one screen, and you can see my 3 antennas, one quite not complete yet, but anyway. And here's the back of the box. And so it's got the band data coming in from the transceiver here, and then goes the output to the antenna switch goes here. This happens to be their 2x12 box, USB input, power switch, power cord, grounding lug, etc. So it makes managing antennas through a switch pretty easy. And this is bonus, something I found along the way. My soldering skills are not what they used to be. I used to be able to solder just about anything, anywhere. And I had a heck of a time with the DB9s. I got so tired of trying to solder DB9s that I went looking for another option. And this is what I found. These work pretty slick. They're decent quality. They fit well. And it's a piece of cake to get them set up and order and know which pin you're going to on the connector. So I put the link down there at the bottom. I found them on Amazon. works pretty well. So any question on that one?
Dale, they make those also in the DB25, and I use them on my stepper cable.
Yeah, good to know. Anything else? Okay. Second thing I found along the way was an antenna disconnect that I could run remotely. Paradan makes it. You can get it on the Paradan website, or it's on DX Engineering, both. It's pretty straightforward. This is the one that is the 2 coax run. I got that one instead of the single coax run one, just because I figured that I may want another HF coax run out of the shack for some reason. And you can see the ground lug power cord, the little green light that tells you that it's on and it's connected, and then to A and B from the radio, and A and B to the antennas. So it requires 10 to 18 volts but only at 120 milliamps to connect the antennas. It's got a relay system in there. My 7610 provides a full amp of 13.8 volts DC out, on both ACC1 and ACC2. And the 7300 does the same on its ACC socket. Most modern transceivers should have that available somewhere on the back panel. What that's for, I leave the power, because again, I want to be able to run this completely remotely. I want to leave the power supply on all the time, but I don't want the antennas connected when I'm not there and not operating. And so if you're an operator that turns your power supply off, just wire the thing, direct to a rig runner or whatever from your power supply, so that when you turn your power supply on, it energizes it and connects your antennas. I didn't want to leave them connected when I'm not there, and I don't want to turn off my power supply. So I take it out of the back of the 7610. And so as soon as I turn on the 7610 or the 7300, either one, it energizes those relays and connects the antennas. And when the antennas are disconnected, they're grounded. That's part of why you see the 1-inch braid going in and out of there. It grounds both the center conductors and the shields on the antenna side, and it disconnects both the center lead and the braid on the input side. So it takes the whole connection away. I think it's about a 0.05 dB loss up to about 29 megahertz. And then it's 0.4 decibels at 54 megahertz. The SWR gets really marginal at 144, and it's completely unusable on 440. There is reverse polarity protection in it, RF filtering, and gas discharge tubes on the antenna inputs. So you've got another static discharge in there. I wouldn't call it a lightning discharge, because I never want to see lightning coming that far into my shack. So currently $200 for the dual version and $120 for the single version at DX Engineering. But as with a lot of things, it's out of stock right now. And this isn't related really to my remote, but just with running an amp. I wanted a high power dummy load that I could use to test things with and what have you. And I found the Palstar DL1500. It's a completely passive, air cooled, convection cooled dummy load. It's just mounted on the back of my desk in the ham shack there. And it is a 1500 watt capability up to about 30 megahertz, but only for 10 seconds. And at 100 watts, you can run it for like 10 minutes. So it's been adequate. I haven't yet run into anything where I needed to test it at full power on the amp. At 500 watts out of the amp, I've got a couple of minutes that I can run it. It is usable up to 500 megahertz, but with reduced power levels as you go up. And it's $199.95 at DX Engineering, but it's out of stock there and on the Palstar website both. It does work as advertised. The review of it in the February 2021 QST. And again, it's been adequate, but barely. If I were doing it again, I'd buy one of the larger Palstar models. 10 seconds is not a long time. You can't test as well as I would want to at times with a 10-second feed. Palstar makes two larger ones. Their 2K is $399.99, and then their 2.5 HD is $695. And it'll run 10 minutes at 2,000 watts, and also it'll run forever at 600 watts. So if I were doing it again, I would have gone to one of those two rather than this one. So this one isn't a recommendation, just a info, FYI.